Okay, let's try this again. We're gonna try this again since there were just way too many interruptions going on in the last one. So, welcome to Spirit Seed Center Weekly Book Club. I am so sorry. I am so deeply, deeply sorry that I am late. It seems that whenever I have these events planned or whenever something's planned, something's always coming up, or I forget, or something happens where I'm not able to do it right on time. Like today, it was all technical difficulties. And then I had tried to start, and then we were getting buzzed and ringed and dinged. And so I was just like, no, we're just going to start all over again. And if we have to go overtime, then whatever, we go overtime. But we're going to finish this chapter today. And then, if anyone joins chat, then they are more than welcome to discuss whatever they hear, have a conversation, share ideas, inspiration, etc., whatever it is that you want to do. But I will say that since today we are going to be reading chapter 3, if you wanted to go back and see the first 2 chapters, they would be on my YouTube. If you go on YouTube and just look up Spirit Seed Center on YouTube, you will find them on there. I think the first chapter is broken into 2 parts, and then the second chapter is in one video by itself. So then there's 3 videos basically for those 2 chapters, and then now here we are on chapter number 3. So that's completely up to you. If you want to stick around and just listen to chapter 3, or if you want to, go ahead and head over to YouTube and listen to like 1 and 2 first, and then come and watch chapter 3 when I post this later. That is completely up to you. So whatever you decide is, it's okay. The information will come, and that's all that matters. I'm going to do 1 chapter at a time because I feel like it gives me time to speak, discuss, and be able to get through all the information. Plus, these chapters are decently sized. They're a good, this chapter itself goes from page 23 to page 39. So it's a decent couple pages. And I'm going to be reading to you like a bedtime story type-ish. So get comfortable, get your cozy drink, get your cozy, snacks and stuff, and get into your cozy robe and get comfortable, because we're about to start chapter 3 of Bringers of the Dawn, Teachings of the Pleiadians by Barbara Marciniak. This book changed my life. I could not remember or tell you how I found this book or where I got this book or what, but I will tell you that this book completely changed my life, okay? Basically, what's happening in the last, and like this book isn't one that's like telling you a story like chapter by chapter. It's basically telling you a different something in each chapter. That's another reason why I say it's okay if you guys stick around for chapter 3 and then go and watch the other ones. But this is where we're going to start. Who your gods are. There are many misconceptions about the idea of godhood. The universes are full of intelligent beings who have over time evolved and developed all sorts of capabilities and functions to serve their needs to express themselves creatively. The importance behind existence and consciousness is creativity, and creativity takes many forms. Eons ago, Earth was but a thought in the minds of great beings who had set before themselves the task of creating new forms of existence. Many of these beings affected the creation of this universe, and you have termed them God. In actuality, they were extraterrestrial light-bearing energies far removed from Prime Creator. We rarely use the term God with a big G. If we are using this term, we would be referring to the entity we know as Prime Creator. Prime Creator, in its own personal implosion through love, endowed all things with consciousness. All things are Prime Creator on Prime Creator's journey. We see ourselves as an extension of Prime Creator, always gathering information, going off on adventures, and doing whatever we need to do to make our lives more interesting and challenging so that we can feed Prime Creator. As we feed Prime Creator through our schemes and our endeavors, we endow Prime Creator with greater energy to give to new creations. We have never gotten close to this entity, Prime Creator. We have never gotten close to the entity Prime Creator, is what they say. Even those of us who are beings of the grandest light vibration do not have the capability or the capacity at this stage of our evolution to be in the proximity of Prime Creator. We are not prepared enough to handle the intensity of that emission. It is our desire at some point in our evolution to get a glimpse of and perhaps merge with Prime Creator for a time. We know that this is possible, so it is something we strive for. The evolution of consciousness and the ability to house information is what allows one to come into the proximity of Prime Creator. Many people on Earth have felt that they have merged with God. They may have merged with a portion of Prime Creator that is best suited for their vibration at the time. The total vibration of Prime Creator would destroy the physical vessel in an instant because it cannot house that much information. Those that represent God to you are but a minute portion of Prime Creator. Even Prime Creator is but a portion of something larger. Prime Creator is always discovering that it is a child of another creation and that it is in constant process of self-discovery and awareness. Remember, consciousness is within all things, and consciousness was never invented, it simply was. Consciousness is knowing, and your knowing is your closest place to Prime Creator. When you trust what you know, you are activating the God within you. At this time, there is a great awareness moving over the planet as to how big the world really is. And we get interrupted by ads that we should not be getting. Gosh. At this time, there is a great awareness moving over the planet as to how big the world really is, and as to who's who in the world ball game. Not only who's who in the world ball game, but who's who in the cosmic ball game. Just as you have hierarchies upon Earth that you may or may not be aware of, there are hierarchies in the cosmos. You can live within a certain area and not be aware that any hierarchy exists. You can farm your land, pay your taxes, decide not to vote, and simply be oblivious to any bureaucratic political structure. In somewhat the same way, Earth is oblivious to the bureaucratic political structure that operates in the universe. It is important for you to understand the bureaucracies or hierarchies exist, that they exist, and that these organizations have different experiences of time than you do. Others do not live within the same structure of time as you know it. What you call one day, what you call 1 year, perhaps to others may only be one small portion of a day. If you can really begin to comprehend this, you can understand why this planet has seemingly been left to itself for the last few thousand years. Now, activity is beginning to bubble and boil again from the skies, and you will be faced with inserting a vast amount of new knowledge into your paradigms and your belief systems. This planet is in for a culture shock, a big surprise. You have come here at this time for a certain purpose. Those creator gods who rearranged the human species are returning. Some of them are already here. This planet has been visited over and over again, and many different forms of human beings have been seeded here through a variety of experiments. There have been many influential factors that have created the course of history on Earth. There have been civilizations on this planet that have existed for millions of years, that have come and gone and had not left a trace. These civilizations, each and every one of them, were influenced by those you may call God. Your history has been influenced by a number of light beings whom you've termed God. In the Bible, many of these beings have been combined to represent one being when they were not one being at all, but a combination of very powerful extraterrestrial light being energies. They were indeed awesome energies from our perspective, and it is easy to understand why they were glorified and worshipped. There is no literature on Earth that gives you a true picture of these beings. All of the gods came here to learn and to enhance our own development through working with creativity, consciousness, and energy. Some become very successful and mastered their own lessons, while some made quite devastating errors. Who were these gods from ancient times? They were beings who were able to move reality and command the spirits of nature to bend at their will. Humans have traditionally called these beings God, who could do things that the human race could not do. These beings were passed down through the ancient culture of many societies, portrayed as winged creatures and balls of light. The world is permeated with hints and clues and artifacts of who your gods have been. However, those who wish to manipulate humans made up their stories to create the paradigm that would control you. You were told that these beings were truly gods, and you were taught to worship, obey, and adore them. This paradigm is now on the verge of making a gigantic shift. The truth is coming forward, a truth that will completely change the way you view the world. Woe be to those who are unwilling to look. The shock reverberations are going to be around the world. The creator gods who have been ruling this planet have the ability to become physical, though mostly they exist in other dimensions. They keep Earth in a certain vibrational frequency while they create emotional trauma to nourish themselves. There are some beings who honor life before everything else, and there are also beings who do not honor life and do not understand their connection to it. Consciousness feeds consciousness. It is hard for you to understand this concept because you feed yourself with food. The food for some beings is consciousness. All food contains consciousness at some point in its own development, whether you fry it, boil it, or pick it from your garden. You ingest it to keep yourself nourished. Your emotions are food for others. When you are controlled to bring about havoc and frenzy, you are creating a vibrational frequency that supports the existence of these others, because that is how they are nourished. There are those who live off the vibration of love, and that group would like to reestablish the food of love on this planet. They would like to turn this universe into the frequency of love so that it can have the opportunity to go out and seed other worlds. You represent the renegade group of light, and you have agreed to come back on the planet. You are on an assignment. You came into this physical body, and you're taking it over. You intend, through the power of your spiritual identity, to change the physical body. You all selected with great care the genetic lines that would best give you your head starts with all of this. Each of you chose a genetic history through which members of the family of light have threaded. When human beings existed in their rightful domain and could understand many realities, they had the ability to be multidimensional, to be one, and to be equal with the gods. You are beginning to awaken this identity within yourself. The gods raided this reality. Just like corporate raiders in your time come in and take over businesses, because perhaps the pension funds are in great abundance. So the funds upon this planet were in great abundance at the time these raider gods appeared. In order to have you believe that they were gods with a big G, they rearranged you genetically. This is when the family of light was scattered from the planet, and the dark team, which operated out of ignorance, came in. Your bodies carried a fear and a memory of striving for knowledge that those gods represented and took away from you. The gods who did this are magnificent space creatures. They can do many kinds of manipulations and work with realities in many different ways. Humans in ignorance begin to call these creatures God with a big G. God with a big G has never visited this planet as any entity. God with a big G is in all things, in everything. You will have only dealt with gods with a little g who have wanted to be adored and to confuse you, and who have thought of Earth as a principality, a place that they can own out in the galactic fringes of this free will universe. Before the raid, you had tremendous abilities. The original biogenetic example of the human was given incredible information, was interdimensional, and could do many things. When these creator gods raided, they found that the local species knew too much. The local species had abilities that were too much like those who were passing themselves off as God. A biogenetic manipulation was done, and there was much destruction. There were experimental versions of the species brought onto the planet where the original database was scattered but not destroyed. At one time, your DNA was intact. It was like a beautiful library where the information was all cataloged and referenced, and you could find anything you wanted to find instantly. When the biogenetic alteration occurred, it unplugged the data. It was as if somebody hid the reference system and pulled all the books off the shelves and heaped them into a pile on the floor so that there was no order to them. This is how your DNA was scattered and scrambled by the raiders a long time ago. We are telling you a story now. There is definitely a story to this. We speak not to your logical mind, but to your memory banks, so that you can begin to remember participating in this story. In this way, you will begin to understand what has happened and who you are within this process. All of the genetic information was scattered. It did not have an order, but it was left inside the cells. The only information that remained for you to play with and to keep your functioning was a double helix. Many of the databases along with the double helix were shut down, closed, so that you may begin to function with very little data. You were very easy to manipulate and control by many aspects of consciousness passing themselves off as God with the big G. Certain entities took to existing species. Certain entities took the existing species, which was indeed a glorious species, and retooled it for their own uses, their own needs. They disrupted the informational frequency inside the human beings, changed the DNA, and gave you the double helix so that you could be kept in ignorance. Your frequency of accessibility was simply shut down, so you couldn't turn on the dial to your own radio. These creator gods set out to alter the DNA inside of the human body, which is the intelligence, the blueprint, the code. If a code does not have a place to operate within, it cannot fire itself into existence or express itself into existence. If you are locked up in a tiny room and never given any space to grow, you can never express yourself. The last number of 1,000 years, your code has been forced to fit inside of very limited DNA. One of the most exciting aspects about being on Earth right now is that there is a reordering or a retooling taking place in your DNA. Cosmic rays are coming onto the planet so that the change is being broadcasted and a reordering is taking place inside the body. The scattered DNA that holds the history and the awareness of the living library is now lining up. The DNA is evolving. New helixes or strands are being formed as the light-encoded filaments are beginning to bridle themselves together. The scattered data is being pulled together in your body by electromagnetic energies from Prime Creator. We are here to watch this process with you, to assist you, and to evolve ourselves as well. As this rebuilding and reordering comes together, you will create a more evolved nervous system that will allow much more data to move itself into your consciousness. You will awaken many brain cells that have been lying dormant, and you will come into use of your full physical body rather than a small percentage that you have been functioning with. Every place on the planet has been affected by this change, this awareness. Those of you who are the guardians of light and who wish to completely change this present reality and bring different options in are anchoring the frequency. If it is not anchored and understood, it can create chaos. It will create chaos. This is why you must ground yourselves. Chaos brings about a state of reorganization when utilized properly. Time is collapsing, and the energy is becoming larger and larger. You have come here to use that energy first. You will make pathways of consciousness as you pull the energy into your body that will assist others so that they may not have to go through what you went through. Many people will suddenly begin to feel this energy without any preparation at all. You are all pulling light, which is data and information, onto the planet, and as you do this, you create new pathways for consciousness to explore without even saying a word. Whew, I feel like I'm channeling. Like these words, I'm reading this so fast. It's like so easy and fast. It's like pouring out of my mouth. I'm on page 30 already. I feel like we are definitely going to easily get through this chapter within the next couple of minutes. Yeah, so let's continue.